The experience at La Jolla was terrific. John Singer was one of those people who immediately saw the implications of experiments, and my colleague and I, who I can talk about in a moment, often had to sort of keep the results of our experiments secret for a while so that we could interpret them, because we didn't want John to immediately tell us, oh, you know, this is worth following up, or this is worth following up. But he was a terrific mentor. Very different than Harold Edelhoff, who very much stuck to the data, and it was just a very different kind of a learning experience. John Singer loved to take leaps ahead, and it's important to have both kinds of training, really. So we worked on a project there, which was interesting, which grew out of a student project that Leon Wofsy, who was the other postdoc with me, had done. Leon Wofsy had, who is now 90 years old, still doing very well. Interesting background. His father had been a member of the Communist Party. Leon Wofsy had been a member of the Young Communist League, and decided that was not really going to go anywhere, even though he was very sympathetic to some of the more liberal causes. Decided to become a high school teacher in New Haven at a time when there was a political campaign during the sort of McCarthy period. And he became a major issue, name in the front pages of the New Haven newspapers, and finally was kicked out of the school system, but fortunately had a binding contract, so they had to pay his salary for 2 years. And he decided to follow up and became a PhD student under John Singer, so came out to La Jolla, and had worked on a student project in which one was trying to understand how come a particular inhibitor of a certain enzyme was so specific, and that led to the idea of something called affinity labeling. And the idea was that if a small molecule was bound to a combining site on a protein, and that small molecule had a reactive group on it, which could modify an amino acid side chain in that protein, one could then label that combining site, and then one could disassemble the protein and find out where in the protein that combining site was. So at that time, one was very much interested in trying to understand what the combining site of antibodies was like. And so Leon's and John's idea was to use a small antigen, a haptene, which is a small molecule which will bind to the combining site of an antibody, make a haptene that had a reactive group to it. And Leon, I think, was the one who really picked on a particular kind of a group that had been widely used actually by Karl Landsteiner, one of the great figures in immunochemistry. And Leon knew that there was a particular variant of this diazonium group which could be crystallized, and which was in a solid form rather than a liquid form. And so one was able to construct such a haptene and label the combining sites of antibodies. And that was very, very successful. And actually at that time, a couple of other laboratories used the same approach to try and make inhibitors of certain cancer cells and so on. But in any case, it was a very productive period in La Jolla. This was at a time when Roger Vivell was the provost of the campus. The campus only had graduate level departments at that time: biology, physics, chemistry, and I think that was pretty much it. And we were on the oceanographic grounds, very idyllic kind of a, I don't know whether you know La Jolla, but we used to have lunch on the lawn there overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and I think the second year we were there had 360 days of perfect weather, which didn't interfere with the work at all. It really, people wondered whether you could work in such a nice environment, and one could work very well.